Hello, everyone. This is Apasta Babe Linda James. I'm here with Matthew, and I tell you this every week, over and over and over again, because this is my form of brainwashing you, because I want you to know that I am your favorite apostate. See, if I keep telling you this over and over again, you might actually believe it someday, which is how brainwashing works. And brainwashing is something that is a word that was taken from prisoners of war. Um, I believe it was either Korean or Japanese. I'm sorry, I don't remember which Asian it was. Forgive me, but they can. So interpreting the word that they used, when you interpret it into English, it's as though you had a bunch of information on a chalkboard, and then you erased it all, and then began to put in new information on the chalkboard to be their new belief system. So it's washing off everything that was there to replace it with new information, if that makes sense. So that is how brainwashing works. So if you do positive and negative sporadic reinforcement on someone who is in a position of dependency, like these prisoners of war was, um, they knew that the person who came around and gave them the positive or negative reinforcement was in a position of authority. So they knew that their well being, that their survival depended on that person or these people. So they would basically train them like you would train a dog. Okay. So you may have heard of Pavlovian's dog. This was a thing taught, it was a way of training a dog. So there was this experiment that was done where Pavlovian's dogs would be fed food at the same time a bell would ring. Okay, and I want you to think back to, I'm just taking a break here, the thing that Russell put together, that long film, I forget what it's called. If you listen to it, you will hear sporadic bells that will ring within that movie, the one that's like 8 hours long. Okay, back to Pavlovian dogs. So after a while, he's feeding dogs, he's ringing a bell at the same time. And they would, their mouths would be ready to receive this food. And in getting ready to receive this food, their mouths would produce more saliva. So they salivatated, right? So there would be other times that he would simply ring the bell without feeding them, but they had the same kind of anticipation. So they would salivatate and have this expectancy of having food given to them when they weren't. So this was a way of training the dogs. And when we're in a high control, high demand, destructive cult, and I call it that because it's not supportive in who we are, but rather it's a situation where we are being conditioned and we are being trained to behave in a manner that's approved of by the leadership. Okay. One of the best ways that I have found or that I recognize is when they say things like, and you'll hear elders say this, and these are outlines of different talks. So you'll hear it at the assemblies, you'll hear it at the pulpit, but these are things that come down from the leadership of the organization. You'll hear things like, in order to please Jehovah, you're going to behave like this, this, and this. And then this behavior or that behavior displeases Jehovah. And statements like honest hearted ones will do this or do that. So you think of yourself as being an honest hearted. Well, yeah, I'm honestly wanting to please Jehovah. And you take the direction from them. But what got you there in the first place was that they had to gaslight you. And I believe this is done within the first 6 weeks of a home Bible study. Okay. First off, they're coming to you in your own your own surroundings, not theirs, but yours. They show up professionally dressed. This is nonverbal communication that says they mean business. Okay. You're probably in casual clothing, which is what most people wear around the house, is casual clothing. And so there's a bit of a differentiation happening there. They are in a teacher position and you are in a student position. So you're being taught by these different chapters of whatever book they're going to study the Bible with you in. So the free home Bible study always comes with what is called a Bible aid, which is presented in a manner of, this just keeps us on subject. Okay. But the fact is, if they came over with simply their Bible and opened it up, and even just a person decided, let's start here in Proverbs, let's read a few scriptures here, and let's see how it coincides with some other things in the New Testament, that is forbidden. Okay. Totally not kosher with the leadership. You must always have a Bible aid that directs you in a certain manner. So the Bible aid usually takes you into this hope, to get us to have a hope for the new system. Okay. And it is something wonderful to hope for. I mean, who hasn't lost a family member? Who hasn't wanted to reunite with somebody that has crossed over or has passed away? This is pretty much a desire of anybody's heart. So when we hear of this Watchtower gospel, that someday we'll be either resurrected or we'll make it through Armageddon and walk right into the new system of things, our dead loved ones will be resurrected and we'll be able to meet them and get to associate with them. There'll be peaceful animals. Will be all these different cultures that get along so well, no prejudiceness. Another thing is we'll all be vegetarians. But they don't get to that until kind of later. But, we'll live off the land. We'll be building our own houses. It's very, very attractive. Okay. And the idea of getting to reunite with your family members is a big deal. They also will read the scripture in Revelations that, Jehovah is going to wipe out every tear from your eyes, and death will be no more. Neither mourning nor outcry nor pain be any more. And doesn't that sound attractive? To not have to deal with today's pain. Wow, that sounds like a great place, that God has in store for us. And it makes perfect sense that he created the Garden of Eden. Adam and Eve did some things to screw that up. And so he wants to put it back into that kind of a situation again. That's what he intended in the first place, but things got veered off to the left, or whatever we want to call it. And he wants to restore the earth to be that again. That's very attractive. So here's this hope that we get to learn about. Then the next thing they do is teach you things through scripture, such as the heart is treacherous, who can trust it? And to lean not on your own understanding, but in all your ways acknowledge him, meaning God or Christ. Okay. So you're being taught that to rely on your own logic is dangerous, is how it ends up being presented. And that if you follow your own heart, that's dangerous too. Then they are also presenting Jehovah God, who's all powerful. He's God, right? He's this loving God that's going to set the earth up in a paradise condition again. We're going to see our loved ones, and he's going to make it to where we're not going to experience any pain. And it won't be like how things are today with culture wars and class wars and all this other, worldly things. So then you're informed what your responsibility is No, let me back up. You're informed that God has always used an organization to speak to his people or some form of a mediator, such as Moses, right? He would talk to his people through someone or through, they would say, an organization. And by the way, they are that organization that God is using today. Some of them might tell you their testimony about how that things were before they were recruited. You know, they might have been running the streets, doing drugs, maybe in a gang or something, or, you know, chasing the dollars, and, you know, it was all a waste. And this route is the best route. And of course, this route will be associated with scripture. The narrow road is the one to be on rather than the road that's wide, which is implying that a lot of people within this world is going to be on that wide road, but few go through the narrow road, which is how they're directing you to be on. So they tell you that it's your responsibility to choose the right religion that God is using to speak to his people today, much like he did with those that were with Moses, which was like, I don't know, 2.5, 3 million people who was wandering in the wilderness. You know, they thought it was going to be a 3-hour cruise. Just kidding. That's Gilligan's Island. They thought it would be a few days, right? They surely didn't think it was going to be 40 years, okay? And they were on their way to a place of paradise as well. So he led them, Moses did, was leading them to paradise. Now, the organization is kind of presented to us in that way as well, that the organization is leading us to paradise. So you have these amazing things that you would naturally look forward to, but you're also told that your ways are not the ways to be trusted. The way that you think should be adjusted, or you should be directed by how God wants you to behave. So, like I said a few minutes ago, you'll get to hear things like, it pleases Jehovah when you behave like this, and it displeases Jehovah when you behave like in this other manner, which is not approved of by the organization. So there's that conditioning thing. And they get you to a place where, or the Bible aid gets you to a place where you truly believe that this organization is the one that God is using today. That's the place where we give up our own reasoning skills. We give up our own decisions made by our own heart, you know, because we've been told that's dangerous, and we rely on how God will direct us. I believe this is done within the first 6 weeks. And that's that place where you don't even realize that you've been manipulated. You think you've made a wise choice because you're now allowing God to lead you in his path for you, whereas the path you've been on has not been in your best interest. You truly believe that this path that Jehovah's going to send you on is the best path for you, okay? You're told that this organization is basically the mediator, okay? But you also get scriptures that say there's one mediator between God and man, and that's Christ. And yet you're told this is the organization God's using and speaks to his people. So I remember when terminology such as the organization is God's mouthpiece, things like terminology like mediator, I can't come up with one right there. But once you're in that place, you've handed over your decision making slowly but surely. It becomes to where you totally become reliant. You'll be directed here and there by maybe your Bible study conductor, maybe some elders in the congregation. They might see a few things and kind of direct you in a certain direction. And you've already decided that this group is the one that's being led by Jehovah, that these elders have been placed by Holy Spirit. Whatever they say to you is basically what God would have you do. Okay, so you follow these directions that they suggest for you, even if it goes against your intuition, if it goes against your heart. And you do that because you've been convinced that relying on your own understanding, trusting your own heart, is dangerous. So, if you get to a place of baptism, that is the goal of a Bible study. But what you'll also find is that they'll invite you to the meetings, okay? And they also get you to go out door to door in what is called service, which you find out that even if you think you're never going to do that, oh no, this is mandatory. But they don't call it mandatory; they call it a commission from God, meaning this is what God expects from all of His followers. So you don't get away with it. And you find out that the meetings are giving you examples of how to approach people at the door. Theocratic Ministry School. Back when I was going to the Kingdom Hall growing up, we would give talks to one another, or men would give talks facing the audience. But women, we could not look at the audience directly to teach. Only the men could. So we as women would get up with another woman and talk to each other and give a demonstration on how we could do things door to door. So this is the thing. When you start behaving in a manner of any kind of difference than what you're used to, your behavior, your mentality has to eventually match the behavior that you're doing. Otherwise, you have what is called cognitive dissonance, okay? So that's almost like your equilibrium is off. So it's very uncomfortable, very, very uncomfortable. Because if you think to yourself, there's no way in hell I'm going to be doing this going door to door stuff, but yet you're going door to door because you've been encouraged, you've seen a few demonstrations at the Kingdom Hall, you're being told that this is what is expected of you from God. Okay, and you're encouraged by other people, it's going to come naturally eventually. Okay, so if you're doing this, behaving this way without your mindset supporting this way, it makes you extremely uncomfortable. So what ends up happening is your mindset has to equal or be on the same zone as what your behavior is doing to make it okay, so that you kind of get rid of that sense of having your equilibrium off. That's kind of, I'm not saying that's what everyone experiences when they have cognitive dissonance. I'm giving that as an example. That it's very uncomfortable, it's very noticeable, it's affecting your psyche, and you don't feel balanced. What you'll find later, if you notice, is that within Watchtower literature, you'll be reading along probably on a Sunday. It'll bring up something in one paragraph, let's say paragraph 5, for a Sunday Watchtower study. By the time you get to 9, it'll say something totally opposite. Now, you just read how they want it to be in paragraph 5. And you know that what you're reading in paragraph 9 is totally opposite. Okay? Then you question yourself, going, wait a minute, I'm experiencing some inconsistency. So that's when you kind of do the self directing yourself to get back on the road that's approved of by God, because you're not supposed to doubt what God has set up. Okay? But you'll find over the years that you notice this. And if you bring it up to a few people, they'll probably be very kind, trying to explain it, and you try to make sense of it. It's easier to get the next explanation that's given to you so that you get peace of mind. Oh, okay, that makes sense. Whatever you've been told. Okay, that'll work. But over time, different things will come up. And the longer you're within this culture, because that's what a cult is. Cult is short for culture, okay? And the organization and any other high control group is like a subculture off to the side of society at large. They're not really not really mingling within society at large, but kind of off to the side. Even though Jehovah's Witnesses are not a compound situation, um, like Waco or Jim Jones and Guyana, we've learned to self-isolate. We've learned to not associate with people we work with. We don't associate with people we go to school with. Any kind of extracurricular activities from school is forbidden. So, and if we want to pursue any form of self-interests, those are usually shot down, and it is suggested that you put that off until the new system, because what's urgently needed now is to spread the gospel. That's our job as Jehovah's Witnesses, is to recruit people so that they'll have everlasting life. This seems like a wonderful purpose, right? You know that, this whole thing that God's got set up is a good idea. Of course you want to share it. Later on, you'll find out that if you don't share it, you actually have blood on your hands. For those that did not get to hear the gospel of the Watchtower. If you stumble someone within this organization, you're considered what's called blood guilty, okay? And that's something that, for instance, this culture has an atmosphere where you are to snitch on each other. If you notice a brother or sister doing something that's forbidden according to this organization, you are to go to them and say, listen, I noticed you did this. I love you, buddy. And you need to take this to the elders, okay? And if you don't, I'm going to give you 2 weeks. Otherwise, I'm going to have to tell them, okay? This is what we've been taught. We've been taught that we have to let the elders know if they themselves don't let the elders know. So if I don't let the elders know, I will have that person's blood on my hands during Armageddon, as Jehovah God is destroying all the ones that did not receive the gospel of the Watchtower. So when you hear people talk about how could someone be so stupid to join a cult, they're not stupid, okay? They're deceived. It takes gaslighting. It takes manipulation. It takes them to not rely on their own to be deceived. Anybody can be deceived. You could be a rocket scientist and be deceived. It's not about, how smart you are. But another thing that cults want is labor. They want labor from their followers. I've heard Matthew speak about only getting maybe 3 hours sleep on some of the things he's been involved in. I didn't go through that, okay? But the whole thing about the ordinary Jehovah's Witness, what they're supposed to go through, they keep you busy. Because what happens is you don't get a chance to lean back, take a deep breath, and think a thought and actually finish it, and for that to go even further. So the doubts that you might have noticed, you kind of just place it on a shelf and say to yourself, I'm going to get back to that later when I have time. After a while, that shelf is just full of doubts that you've never had a chance to get back to because you're kept busy, busy, busy. Even the ordinary rank and file Jehovah's Witness is kept very, very busy. Very little downtime. So those that are in higher positions are really expected to give their labor to this organization, all in the purpose of recruiting more people to this organization, because this is the organization Jehovah's using to speak to his people. Unfortunately, later on down the line, you find out that the mediator between God and man that you've heard as a scripture all along is Christ, Jesus, really only applies to the remnant, the 144,000, because they are called spiritual Israelites. Okay? We, as those that are considered part of the great crowd, which is anybody beyond 144,000. We have a earthly hope. We're looking forward to paradise. Those that are of the remnant, those that are part of the 144,000, they look forward to, after their death, to be with Jesus and Jehovah in heaven. Okay? So we find out Jesus isn't even our mediator. What the? How is this even okay? But here we have more cognitive dissonance. But we're told if we just stay close to those that are part of the remnant, those that are close, we get to benefit from it. That also takes us to the governing body, right? All of them are part of the 144,000. Now, before, I believe it's 2012, there was the 144,000, all of them were called faithful and discreet slave. Whoever was part of this 144,000, they were all called the faithful and discreet slave. But then it was switched to only the governing body is called the faithful and discreet slave. They still hold the category of part of the remnant class, part of the 144,000, but they're not the faithful and discreet slave, which is associated with Matthew 24 and in I think around 47. So they start what they do is they talk about how it's been prophesied that God would have certain people care for his people. Let me just tell you this right now. This organization claims that they, the leadership, are the only ones that can interpret scripture. So if you look it up and you see what you're reading and you notice that it's a parable and they tell you it's a prophecy, you're expected to receive it as a prophecy because that's what God's channel of communication is telling us. See, back when we relied on our own heart and our own understanding, that was dangerous. So we can't do that today. Even if we see it clear as day, we have to receive what the governing body tells us it is. And they tell us it's a prophecy. And they also say it's a prophecy for these last days. Okay? So from the time of Jesus's apostles dying off to when Charles Taze Russell started the Watchtower, we've been told God has always had an organization. He's always used somebody or something to speak for him to his people. So I can remember being like 12 years old, okay? Well, 1 year after 1975. So this is 1976, the bicentennial year of the United States, right? So I'm asking my mom, so what organization did Jehovah's Witnesses use from the time all the apostles died off until Charles Taze Russell founded this organization? And my mother tells me, well, there was a great apostasy. I'm like, okay. Still, what group are they were they using? You know, to me, there could be a great apostasy, but if I'm told that God's always had an organization, you know, I'm expecting there to be an organization that God's using between this time frame, but there isn't one. Okay? There isn't one. Every so often you'll hear a talk or something and they kind of imply that it could have been this person or these groups of people that might have been used by God, but it's not super concrete. If you look into things, you'll kind of find out how the teachings came to Charles Taze Russell, but that's like a different story. So again, you have to doubt yourself because you know what you've been taught isn't matching up with what you're being informed of. So another thing to put on the shelf. So by the time I ended up having a Bible study at 17, I could not make it make sense. And being that I grew up in special ed classes because I have these learning disabilities and stuff, Um, I was used to being in a smaller class at school, which is good. And what happens with special education is they don't push you through. They let you go at your own pace of what you're learning because of the time you need to ask questions, and it takes off pressure and stuff like this. So I would get to a certain point in my workbook at school, and then I take it to my teacher and say, I'm stumped. I don't know how to get past this. My teacher never told me how to do it, but my teacher would always ask me questions that had me come up with other ways of getting up and going and trying to get to the solution of these questions. I truly believe to this day that's what taught me how to critically think. These special ed teachers that I had, because they didn't tell me the answers. They were like coaches, that directed me in the right direction, but they didn't do it for me. So I still had to be in the game. I still had to do it for myself. But what was a blessing is that I could do it on my own timing. So here I am back doing Bible studies to get baptized with people within the organization, and I couldn't understand. Things didn't make sense. Why? Because they didn't make sense. But to me, I thought it's because I'm stupid. I thought it was because I'm special ed and I couldn't get it because I couldn't learn it because it must be part of my disabilities. So today I can tell they didn't make sense because they didn't make sense. So rather than letting me go at my own pace, which is not how the Jehovah's Witnesses are directed to have Bible studies, they would tell me, like, let's just move on. It's going to make sense later. So, okay, I would begrudgingly kind of just go, okay. And then we get to another point and I'd be like, but see, this is not working with this or that. I was still stumped in certain places. I would get mocked. I would get made fun of by my Bible study conductors because they just didn't see things the way I saw them. It made sense to them. They were the teacher. I was a student. And I remember looking at them thinking, they're mocking me and they're laughing at me. And I don't think this is funny at all. Like, I had real confidence because I was in special ed that I was supposed to stop and ask questions. And I wasn't supposed to go any further until I understood this certain point. So in my mind, they're not going along with my program, right? The one I was in, the way I was used to learning in my special ed classes. So after 6 months, they dropped me. So I never made it through. The year before, when I was 16, I was put on public reproof. And I'm not going to get into that right now, but because I was put on public reproof, that led me to wanting to get right with Jehovah and everything. And then later on at 23, I tried studying again. And but I didn't understand then that I wouldn't get disfellowshipped if I wasn't baptized. Because if I could get put on public reproof, why wouldn't I be disfellowshipped? Like, I didn't understand the rules of the organization. I didn't understand these technical things. So today I really realize what a bullet I dodged. So basically at 23, the same kind of thing happened. At 6 months, they dropped me. So it wasn't for a lack of trying that I didn't become a baptized Jehovah's Witness, but it was because I could not make sense of it. Today I understand it like I couldn't make sense of it because it didn't make sense. So there's that. So once you're involved within this organization, you come to find out things that I call, and this is just me, I call on a need to know basis. Basically, you don't get to know about them until you need to know about them. On a need to know basis. For instance, let's say somebody is in a judicial committee and they've done something that's considered wrong, and they've been talked to before. and it falls under the category of gross sin, and it's been done 3 times, or you have done it 3 times. According to them, once it's done 3 times, it's considered a practice. That's when you get to find out that you're practicing sin. It's 3 times. Okay. When do you find this out? At the time you need to know, and are informed you're going to be disfellowshipped. I have very rarely heard of situations where people speak with elders and they're going to get disfellowshipped, yet they were not repentant. And then I've heard stories where they don't quite understand why they're getting disfellowshipped. They just know they're getting disfellowshipped, and they're getting advice from these elders that is extremely vague. And I don't think that's the case with all situations. I do think that there's elders that are very direct, very clear on what's needed to be done next if somebody's going to get disfellowshipped. So there we are with that. Again, high controlled, high demand groups you don't get drawn into them because you're stupid. You're drawn into them because of the hope, because of the destination, the cause, okay? The thing that you're hoping to bring about. Now, there's another thing I want to mention. If you look up the term doomsday cult, yeah, this was a good time for me. If you're part of a group that's helping to bring about Armageddon, that defines you as being part of a doomsday cult. And there have been things that have happened in the past where, like, they've tried to start a culture war, like Mace, what's his name, from the 60s or 70s, where
Applewhite.
Say that again?
Applewhite or Jim Jones?
The other guy, Charlie Manson.
Ooh,
So he
man.
was that what he instructed the ladies to do was going to help start a culture war. But yes, both of those fall under that category of, well, Applewhite was, they went on to their destination through suicide. That was in San Diego, which is 100 miles away from me south. And the county that Beth Sarim is in, which is a really cool place. And then there's Jim Jones. Now, Jim Jones, I'm going to tell you something. If I was a teenager or a young adult at that time, I would have joined that church. It was extremely progressive. There was all kinds of, cultures that were welcome there. It was in San Francisco. The way that he was helping people. They were sending people to college. Okay, it was very, very supportive. They were helping people like get on benefits, like if they needed to get on welfare or Social Security, they would help their people do this. So, and it became very like evangelistic and very kind of almost Pentecostal, where they're dancing and everything, having a good time. And so when you get to do any kind of dancing and singing and jumping around and stuff, your body releases feel-good hormones. It makes you want to go back. So it wasn't until he got out to Guyana that he started doing drills. So what I mean by drills, because these Jim Jones and the People's Temple are a group of people from 1978 that we were told all committed suicide. What we know today is that some of them were killed. So it's a massacre suicide today, okay? So, but what he did was he would have these rehearsals, much like when we were in school, if you went to public schools, every so often the bell would go off and we're having a fire drill. And what we do is we all get up and we go to this certain location in a field or someplace on campus that we would go to in case there was a real fire in the school. They went through a drill to where they had little cups of drinks, Flavor Aid, and everybody was supposed to drink from the Flavor Aid so that the people that were coming after them would not take them in. They would rather, the deal was they would rather die than let them take them in and torture them. And Jim Jones taught them that the government was against them, much like Jehovah's Witnesses are taught that, the government's against us, or being run by the devil, right? So back to Jehovah's Witnesses. In Matthew 24:14, we're taught that this good news of the kingdom is going to be preached in all the inhabited earth, and then the end will come. This is our part in bringing about Armageddon. Armageddon won't come until this good news is preached in all the inhabited earth. So we're actually taking part in bringing about the new system. Is how we, as a group, this is how we think all over the world. This is how we think. So we don't see it as looking forward to Armageddon, doomsday kind of thing. We see it as looking forward to paradise, looking forward to where Jehovah has set up for us. It's going to be beautiful. But then you find out along the way, we're going to be cleaning up bodies after Armageddon hits. But it ain't going to be that bad, because the birds are going to pick out the eyeballs, and they'll be wild animals. It'll take off most of the flesh of the bodies that have died, that Jehovah God has killed. I'm sure they use a different word. So there's going to be all this time that we're cleaning up these bodies, and then everything that we were told that Jehovah's going to do, we come to find out we're going to do it. So we're going to be, making the world a paradise. We're going to be cleaning up all the dead bodies. We're going to be putting the buildings back together or taking them all the way down. It'll be something that we're going to be doing, even though we were taught that Jehovah God's going to turn everything into paradise. So this is the journey that most people go on, and they expect the men to reach out and be part of leadership. And my father pretty much never held a leadership job. He got baptized in 1975, which was just in time, right? And then afterwards, he just wasn't part of it much at all. He is now. He's now a devout Jehovah's Witness, but he wasn't back then. He never took on an authority position. I never thought twice about it. And so I came to find out later that because my father was not around, my sister, myself, and my mother were considered spiritually weak. Because within this culture, if the husband, the head of the house, is not part of this organization, we're considered lower class. Which is why, as I was growing up, I would find out that different people in the congregation had done this or done that, some kind of socializing. And of course, I wasn't invited. I just got to hear about it afterwards. And I always wondered why I wasn't invited. And there was this boy at school that I went to school with who was one of the elders' sons. And I would say hi to him because he's a Jehovah's Witness. He would literally cuss me out. And I would just stand there shocked. He would cuss me out. Coming to find out today that there's even a class system within the organization, like within the Kingdom Hall. I don't think Jehovah's elders of, I don't think children of elders would have associated with those that are considered spiritually weak. I think they would be directed to, you know, only associate with maybe other elders' kids or something to that effect, because they were considered spiritually strong. I didn't understand this hierarchy at the time I was growing up. But when I look back, my mother was always associating with single mothers, or else a mother that didn't have a husband within their organization. So it kind of makes sense to me today. So that's a thing about cults. It takes deception. And something I've noticed lately is that the government here in the United States has told us to not believe our eyes, but to believe what they say. And the organization has told us it might not seem logical from a human standpoint, but if you're given instructions, you need to follow them, because it means your life. Okay? So I find those two things extremely similar as far as something that I believe is a technique or tactic of a cultic group. And when I say cultic, I mean cult-like, not cultic like esoteric or anything like that. So I'm going to open things up for subjects that you guys want to talk about. I just wanted to kind of go through why people end up joining groups like this. And it can be a political group, it could be basically any kind of group that you could find yourself in, that if it has the techniques and tactics of a cult, you'll find yourself doing things that are not in your best interest, but rather the best interest of the leadership. And today, part of our healing is to kind of get out of that mindset of always being in service to the organization, but rather developing who you are, meaning developing your own unique identity. Because when we're involved in these kinds of groups, our identity is very much tied to the group you're involved in. So if you think about it, we called ourselves one of Jehovah's Witnesses, not a Jehovah's Witness, but one of the whole group, right? So there's that. I'm going to open up YouTube and see what's going on.
Linda James, meanwhile, can I read out some of the comments because they've been really good?
Yes, please.
Okay, so while you do that, we've got Yvonne3903 saying, if they really believe that they're going to be disposing of billions of bodies, they'd be building coffins, not building a film studio or film studios.
Good point. Very good point. Yep.
Purple Chips, does that mean I can personally hold off Armageddon by making sure I never hear Jehovah's word?
Something like that.
Sheila,
Probably.
I had the toxic. Oh, sorry, Linda James, you had a thought?
No, I'm just laughing. Please go on.
Happy Thought 77, Sheila from UK. I had the toxic poison one. By then I was already out, but elders didn't know. Glad you escaped, Linda XX.
Thank you. Happy thoughts.
Then Linvest 8466, the JW governing body tells their members to put their trust in them. They are deceivers.
Yes.
You
know, if you think
about, oh, sorry, Linda James.
I was going to say, if you think about the Australian Royal Commission, Angus Stewart, which was the lawyer there, asked Geoffrey Jackson, do you, meaning the governing body, consider yourselves Jehovah's spokespersons? he starts off by saying, well, that would be quite presumptuous of us. And that's where people usually stop. But let me tell you how he goes further. He goes further with this, that, and the other, and basically says other people within the organization can be representatives of Jehovah as well, meaning any other Jehovah's Witness. So he took the question that Angus Stewart asked him, as far as the governing body being Jehovah's representatives, to anybody in the anybody within this whole group of Jehovah's Witnesses can be God's representative, which is something we were taught. But we know for a fact we are not shoulder to shoulder positionally within this organization with the governing body. There's a hierarchy. We're on the bottom, those of us that are rank and file, and the governing body are basically, for most of us, unreachable at the top. That's what I was thinking of.
Yeah. You know, healing really does begin there, Linda James, because for many of us, our entire identity was tied to being one of Jehovah's Witnesses. I appreciate in the audience that some were never part of that. But from our perspective, our worth, purpose, or even our name for ourselves, we said, oh, we are one of what? Jehovah's Witnesses, right? Recovery means what? Learning who we are without constant service to an organization, developing a self that isn't conditional on approval, or performance or belonging. And so if you want to make it even tighter, I suppose something like this, Linda James, our identity was the group. Healing is learning that we're allowed to be a self again.
Or for the first time, those of us that were born in. It's foreign, but we were, Stephen Hassan speaks of it like he'll hold up two hands and speak of like their authentic self being underneath and put another hand over his hand and say the cult self, as if the cult self covers the authentic self, meaning the authentic self is there. It's always been there, but it wasn't allowed to blossom, wasn't allowed to grow. And this might be the first time we get to. And we're going to make some mistakes. We're going to screw up, but we're going to get some things right, which is actually normal in developing who we authentically are. It comes with making the bad choices and getting the negative results, and making good choices and getting positive results. Unfortunately, some people within the organization, when they're either chose to leave or were kicked out, and they begin to do this, some of their naive choices, because they have no experience of being out in society at large, will give them very bad negative consequences, and they'll think, oh my God, I can't make it out here. Okay, I'll have to go back to the organization, because the organization or any other high control group always speaks of those who leave have these horrible consequences. Like they're going to get cancer. They're going to become a drug addict. And if you think about it, if you're in a partnership, a romantic partnership, and you find yourself in an abusive partnership, your partner is abusive, they will say things to you like, you are nothing without me. You can't survive without me. See, it's the same kind of message. When in actuality, in real life, my belief is that the perpetrator is nothing without their victims. Okay? Sure. Perpetrators want the victims to believe that they cannot survive without their perpetrators. But the fact is, the perpetrators are nothing without their victims, because they feed off of us. They use us to do their dirty work. They use our labor. They use us to do their whatever it is they're trying to do, and they don't have to take responsibility for it.
Well, I listen to you, Linda James, and I go, you're naming identity foreclosure without getting, tied up with jargon. You're going, look, I want the simple, because it's important to reframe healing as growth. That's why it matters so much. It's not rejection, and you're offering hope without minimizing the harm. And so survivors, or I'll speak for myself, I recognize being seen, and that's a very strong, compassionate moment when that happens. So let's be simple. Let's breathe, and when we can do it with clarity and dignity, it shows. The running joke at the running joke at Bethel. I remember saying, "Oh yeah, on the outside it's sex, drugs, and rock and roll," and senior members of Bethel were saying, "No, you have all that here at Bethel."
And I would think it would naturally happen, you know, even though it's really presented as, no, this doesn't happen, you know.
Sure. Yeah, so that's it. Don't put your dirty laundry out in the open. Remember the family. So loyalty towards the family, or to the Bethel system.
Interesting that you say that, to the family, because that is the end result of any cult, the end result of any perpetrator. They're going to destroy your family, and they're going to replace themselves with where your family exists now. That's the main purpose of a cult. We're your family now, right?
Well, Lindvest says gaslighting and doublespeak is what they do regularly. Yes, it's like a chapter out of an Orwellian dream, isn't it? So, yeah, the doublespeak. Who was it? I think it was on either Casey and Anthony last night, or Rick Farron was talking about these double binds again. I mean, I chirp on about it. They might not always name it as that, but it's these conflicting directions that are leaving you dependent. But it's that doublespeak, the dilemma situation, and like you said, well, you can't trust your heart. What did you say? Six week programming. You're already at that
I
stage.
believe that happens within the first 6 weeks, that you are gaslit to no longer trust your own self, and that you hand it over to being guided by who you believe Jehovah is leading. Yes.
So now you're talking about special school or special class, or going, oh, I've got this disability. You say, well, hang on, this was your saving grace because you were taught.
It turned out. You're right.
You dodged the bullet. And I'm going, yep. Yeah, you did. That's why it was incompatible. What's it? Oh, God's always had an organization. Well, what organization was? What's it? Isaac Newton. And
maybe so.
And these vague ideas. Well, there is something about Isaac Newton and his organization, but you find out it ain't this thing that they are painting. I just enjoy these comments here. PKR PLYBY. What governing body does is minimize the Holy Spirit as a thing, also known as active force, taking away divine holiness in the term Holy Spirit. Yeah, it's a hijacking. It's a hijacking.
If you ever notice that there's a hierarchy that we've seen that the organization had printed out in one of their literature. It shows the hierarchy where Christ is on top, yes. Governing body, da-da-da. There is no Holy Spirit in that hierarchy at all.
They did change it for some of the later Gilead units, Linda James, but I know that the hierarchy thing that you're talking about, the older ones did subtract that. The newer ones did that all the way to the seraphim and the messengers and the cherubs and the archangel. So they did get wise to it and change it. But I know the one that you're talking about. Yes.
Okay, good. That's really good to hear.
Well, it's just them getting wise because, I think where they're getting educated is they're getting educated on programs like this.
That's what I've come to find. This is exactly what I'm
department. Scratch that now, Yeah, because you can't actually, what happens when you raise questions? Yeah, you can't do that. What did you say? As women, you've got to direct to the other woman on the platform.
That's
where
right.
you coming? Yeah. And
We
what
were not
was your?
allowed.
You said hello to the boy at school. How dare you? You know that
I
was
thought
the.
since we're Jehovah's Witnesses and only can be friends with Jehovah's Witnesses, I thought saying hello was normal, but
Yeah.
no.
The worst people I could be with at school were Jehovah's Witnesses. They were betrayers. They were terrible people, and it was because of this class system idea. If they thought that you were beneath them, forget it. And you're going, oh, I've got a JW. I've got a friend now at school. Finally,
Right,
no,
right.
no, 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 no. And those are the people that are selling you out at the school. How about that? Gets even worse. And then the next thing you're seeing them up at an assembly and they're going, what the hell's going on here? This is one of the lousiest people I know.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, school, geez. You went back to 16 years or 12 years of age, yeah. But we got good comments coming through, Linda James, still. Great,
Please
really
share
good
some.
comments.
Share some more if you're into it.
Jay Mars is just very supportive. John, thanks very much. Says, right, Linda, you nailed it. Then we've got Linvest 8466. The governing body wants to keep their followers believing they need them to get life through the religion they have invented. It's a lie. Jesus is the only way to the Father, the truth, and the life. Quoting John 14, verse 6. And then J. Mars chirps up, the Holy Spirit is, according to JW's, an active force, not an entity, more inactive force. What else? We've got Yvonne Bethel Commune, talks about a commune. There we go. Bethel Commune living at its best. So that's happening, yeah. Willie B 933, but you get those signals as a young person too, very young. And then of course, Happy Thoughts, the promised future sounds wonderful, especially if a parent has children. They want the best for them. Very intelligent people have been deceived for years. It's hard to accept one who has been duped. And you were talking about the rocket scientist. A rocket scientist can be pulled in. I had a doctor at the branch. We were good friends there, and she was pulled in. That's how she got into the branch. You can't say she wasn't a thinking person. She had a doctorate, you know?
Yeah.
And then J. Mars, Jackson goofed on Australian Royal Commission. Laugh out loud, not inspired. Yeah, so this denial, I mean, for many that were listening to this, they were going, oh, you should have said, yes, we are God's chosen people. Yes, we do this. Yes, we hold our ground. No,
that's what they expected us to do. Right?
Yeah, you're going, crumbs. This is it. Look, Linda James, I did this. When I was in the bush and isolated in these areas, I'm going, man, is this how this is supposed to be? And I was clamoring to go. I want to go back to my instructor, my Gilead instructor. I want to see how these guys are operating. When I saw them counting time on the golf course, I just knew. I went, wow, really? This is incredible. This. Yeah, on the golf course, winning these flat screen 3D TVs. And you're just going, what is this? And this is Jehovah's blessing, Matt. This is Jehovah's blessing. Okay, what?
Wow.
Yeah. You know how it got to the golf course. You know how the guys count on the golf course, right? You know the justification.
No, I know nothing about this golf course counting time. Do tell.
Yeah. So when you're on the golf course, that's where you do business. That's where the gentlemen do the business, is on the golf course. And because the anointed are in charge of Christ's belongings, well, that's just the business that's done there. Somebody has to do it. So when you now have running an organization and you're buying, say, for instance, forklifts from Manitou, you do the business on the golf course. That's what it is. So they're saying, yes, well, we're entrusted with Christ's belongings and we have to do this business. And because of the dissonance that's programmed into your congregants, they say, yeah, Matt, that's absolutely right. Well, who else would do that? That's why we entrust them to get on with all of these kind of things. That's why we entrust them with property management and asset management. So you can't get critical about that. No. If you want to get on board, that's great. If your conscience doesn't allow you, well, you're just going to be ejected from that. You won't be invited to the golf course. And if you don't happen to be pretty good at golf, well, then you're not going to be winning those prizes or anything like this. Just shut up and here's a plunger, go and sort out the bathroom.
And you know, when you've told me a little bit about this kind of stuff in other areas, well, I don't even think I got a clear understanding, but we've seen these governing body members with these amazing watches. You've mentioned to me before that they probably were like won them, or they were given to them, that they maybe wasn't necessarily, they probably didn't buy them themselves, whereas we have looked at it like they must be having a shitload of money because they were watches.
Yes.
But you brought up to me that those could have been given to them as, you've done a good job kind of thing. Businesses do that, especially corporations.
That's right. I don't know how you view a Mercedes-Benz in USA, but it's considered, a luxury vehicle. Jeep is also considered luxury vehicle, especially if it's many cylinders or whatever. So your factory, you through LinkedIn. That was what it was before Hub. You get put onto LinkedIn so that all your qualifications are there. But you had your Mercedes Club, and there were very definitely these deals going on. I can think of branch committee members, coordinators, and suddenly they've got a brand new Mercedes.
Wow.
Coming from Zimbabwe, it was the very humble ones, very old, clapped out car where you've re-spray painted it, and you've got your spray booth, and people being rather inventive for keeping you going and saying, you've got to be careful with your frugal resources. South Africa branch, the country club, didn't work like this. It was latest Mercedes, latest Jeep Cherokee. You're going, what kind of humble culture is this? And it was business deals. That's what it was. You went into the purchasing department and they tell you ethically, oh no, well, you've got to avoid this favoritism story, and here's all the rules. It didn't work that way. It really didn't. It was, we're going to send, you've got favor. Okay, well, you're going to be involved in purchasing all the taps that are going into this major renovation scheme for all of these buildings that we've just bought and that we're going to have as temporary RTOs or as temporary housing for Bethelites, because we're renovating the Bethel. We're going to shift them to these major complexes, and it's a huge renovation project. And that's it. It's the property flipping. And if you are involved in this and you're able to supply taps or plumbing or these kind of fixtures, well, then you're involved. That's the blessing of Jehovah again. It very much is being part of that whole economic system, supplying soap, supplying toilet paper, supplying food. And coming in and looking at the system and saying, well, how can I undercut this on the system? Yeah, when you were looking at Admin 2000, you're looking at all of the costs, toilet paper. If you could come in just a bit cheaper, you've won your tender. That's how it works.
Wow, that's feeble.
If you're not part of it,
I've also
if you're aware of it and you're not part of it, then you're not part of the club. Then you've got
I didn't know anything about it. Yeah. Wow. I have run across sites where they will sell all of the stuff that they bought for a certain project. And then when they're done with them, they sell it all off. Forklifts, cars, trucks, parts, all kinds of stuff.
That's called resource recovery. It's a department on its own.
Resource recovery?
Yeah, is that the first time hearing about it? It's called resource recovery. It's a department that's run by Jehovah's Witnesses. So say, for instance, because one of the things that is done is you have computers that maybe run for about 2 or 3 years or whatever the life cycle is. So they'll buy computers, and remember, on that scale, it's massive. If you've got regional offices like in South Africa, you've got your RTOs that are looking after Eswatini, which is a country, Lesotho or Swaziland. Swaziland's now Eswatini. Western Botswana. This is a large part, if you want to say, the United States of Africa. Okay, so looking after all of that, with all of these various offices all dotted around, all the different language groups, Indebele for Zimbabwe, Indebele for Durban, KwaZulu-Natal, Sotho, Tswana, all these language groups with all of these RTOs, which are mini Bethels, all over the place. You've got huge computer infrastructure, massive. When it's on this kind of scale, it's huge. So they would bring in your computers, new computers coming in, old computers going out, and that goes into resource recovery, and they endeavor to put that into reselling and try and generate some kind of monies from that. No, it's very, very intricate, very, very controlled. In fact, the way it's elaborately controlled is impressive. There's no doubt about it. And that's done on the hub system previously known as Admin 2000.
Wow. That is impressive, actually.
I was part of that up until 2012 because I was one of the anointed, so I had purchasing power. That was one of my use. Yeah. So I would have a branch committee.
So were you given things like that, was of value in things so that it would be supportive to you? I'm putting you on the spot.
I got a check. I did get a check for because Rick Farron says, who's ever been paid? I did. I got paid. I got a check. The other thing too is if you've got assets, say for instance you've got property, what you can do is you can put it into the system, and say for instance they need an RTO, they'll pay you in US dollars for rental. So you'll get a check for that. So they're going, oh, isn't it so wonderful that brother so-and-so has made this available? You might do it a little bit lower than normal rentals, but you will still get paid that. So the secret is don't do anything for free. Just do it lower than your normal costs that are around. Always come in a little bit lower so it's more attractive. But then use the system, and in that way you tap into the dedicated funds.
Okay.
Right? Makes sense?
Yes.
Yeah. So, yes. So the ones that always get to fly around, you see, it's not wrong to be in the organization and have assets, eh?
Right.
As long as you declare them. Yeah, you declare them, and then it changes your tax. So there are still ways that you can benefit from the non-profit organization and the tax, as long as you declare it and you put it into the system. Then they will find ways to say, okay, well, we reimburse you for rental or using your facilities as storage, for instance. That's another way that you can get paid out. I wasn't given a Mercedes. I wasn't one of those that was given one. Others were given a Mercedes. What happened with me is I got the benefit of a loan without an interest payment. That was one of the benefits. That was one of the benefits I got from the community was, oh, Matt, we know that you've got money. Just buy this vehicle, for instance. We will send in our agents to negotiate and beat this thing down so it's at lower than the normal retail price, because we happen to know it's desperate, but we also know that the vehicle is excellent vehicle. Bring it into our workshop, and our workshop will use our volunteers to replace the actual components which have failed, which will be so much cheaper because we've got specialists from Mercedes from Germany who are in the organization, which we fly to the branch, And that way it reduces the cost, because we've got a fleet of Mercedes in, say, for instance, the branch. So your coordinators have got Mercedes, some of the circuit overseers got Mercedes. I'm talking about really great Mercedes, right? And we fly out the guy from Germany who's working there, who was working in Mercedes, who's now one of Jehovah's Witnesses. We fly him out here, and he's going to just fix all of these vehicles en masse. That's the project.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah. And then it comes in, and then you can resell it at, like my vehicle, I could sell it, what was it, 20,000? Double.
Okay.
Just flipping and making double profit. I mean, huge profit, 40,000 Rand, 80,000 Rand. It like
Nice.
that. That was, yeah, I was
And
on that train.
that's customary for corporations to do this. This isn't outlandish. It's the normal corporation process of doing things.
Yeah.
It's
Yes, because your labor is very cheap. It's free labor. So,
Yes.
but they do calculate labor. It would be under the normal rate. It's still calculated on the system, but it's very, very low. It's like incredibly low. It's like almost $1 an hour. No, less than $1 an hour. But it's very, very cheap. So because you're not replacing whole units, for instance, like Mercedes-Benz would, if you go to them, they replacing a bolt, or they replacing something that was the point of failure. That was always the method. They're brilliant, really brilliant. Some of the minds that are working for the organization are incredible. It's down to microchip level. It really is.
I bet. Cults or high control groups don't want to work with those that have, let's say, are slow or disabled. They need workers. They need smart people. And everything you're saying only confirms this, including yourselves,
Yeah.
I say.
So that's how it's done. So you flip that on your day off, because when you're on your day off, you're freed from your oath of poverty.
Is that right? That's right. You can actually, I've heard that you can actually have like a part-time job elsewhere on those days off. You are relieved of your oath of poverty. That's interesting.
That's right. So when
Here
you're
I am
in that
in the
how you
United States singing, "Oh Lord, won't you buy me a Mercedes Benz?" And they are having them. But you know what? That's normal corporation stuff.
Sure.
That's how they treat the people that work for them.
And that's how you get to fly first class. Is if during the year you flipped correctly and within what's acceptable. So when you move into that tier, which is like, oh no, that's just one of Jehovah's rewards, right?
Yes.
When you move into that, when you move into that tier, it's just accepted. And actually, when you are dealing with Mercedes, it gets competitive. They're just talking about a very competitive society. If you're going, oh, this isn't noticed. Yeah, it absolutely is noticed. When you change your shirt and you're wearing a silk shirt or a linen shirt or something like this, they absolutely notice. It's very materialistically driven. Very materialistic. They know. So as soon as your cars change, yap, talk, and that works in your favor.
It sounds like it. And it's so amazing to me that, in the rank and file, we'll see these videos that, like the wife of Lot, where her husband is talking to her because she wanted to be a real estate agent, that we make enough. Like, that's our goal, to make enough. And above that is usually taught to us by the organization as if they're chasing wealth.
Yes.
And it's not chasing wealth. And we should be ashamed of chasing wealth. If you ever look up the amount of money that's considered wealth, it takes a while to get there. It's not wealth.
But I can tell you how that's justified as well, because the more properties that are bought, this thing about the organization's a real estate company in disguise.
Yes.
The more real estate that's bought, the more that Daniel 2:44 is fulfilled, because the more properties that you're having, and the more alloidial title you're having, well, that's defeating all the territories because you're buying it all up.
So can you use that scripture and justify it for me so I can connect the dots?
So like the Queen of England or the King of England has how much territory through purchase, through so it's like the more real estate you have, the more clout you have, the closer this brings you to kingdom control, because they've even worked out, like they do these projections. There's one in the Inside volume. They tell you, oh, this isn't exactly how it works. It's just a model to think about. They go, how long would it take to resurrect all of the people who've ever existed? Have you ever seen that under resurrection in the Inside volume?
Yes, I've heard that talked about.
Yeah. So they give you a time frame. So the same thing applies. The more properties that are being bought. Remember, this is just a justification. Eh? This is just justification within the religion. The more properties, the more real estate that's bought, the closer we are to kingdom control over the planet, because you have more influence that's quantified through real estate assets that are accruing in value. Yeah. And the more it accrues in value, it's the same thing as the banks, where you have $1 and you can make it into $8 through loaning.
Okay.
So there is this idea of loaning, and in promissory notes. So making money through promissory notes, absolutely. When I first arrived, I think it was maybe 2008, somewhere there in South Africa at that branch, they had their own bank at the branch facilities, their own exchange, their own foreign currency exchange, until government said, no, stop, you can't do this. Yeah.
That's interesting.
Very sophisticated. The writing department, who was it talking about AI? Somebody was talking about, I can't remember if it was on Rick's show, I'm forgetting now, but somebody was talking about AI. Our writing department in South Africa is down to 1 seat, but our purchasing department's an entire floor now.
Wow. Yeah.
And legal is also, it's like an entire floor. And one of the writers, I've got all the photographs of the branch. I even have photographs of the underground tunnels for South Africa, by the way.
Okay. So South Africa had underground tunnels too, like the New York one did. And I just want to remind people, all of Africa has a bunch of different countries in it. So do the different countries of Africa have different branches?
Yes, we do. But like South Africa is considered the country club. It's the backup system in case the United States fails. So it's got a Lloydial title. It's declared a township. We managed that by pushing it up to 2,000 personnel, and then we pulled back. So it's got its own fire department. If you want to think mayor, so it's basically its own little township. Well, it's exactly what it is. It's its own township with its own water. It's got its own river, and the river, it's incredible. We've got rights to the river. When I say we, JW,
no, I know what you're talking about. Matter of fact, I remember that being talked about. The water.
Yeah. So that river goes all the way to the Limpopo and all the way to the ocean. It like does a loop of all of this land. It's absolutely incredible how well thought out this thing is. It really is. So it stretches from Johannesburg. If you want to look on the map, look from Johannesburg all the way to Limpopo, all the way to the ocean, up on the east coast of Africa. And you're going, this is incredibly well thought out, this. But the whole idea is domination of
kingdom.
I mean, it's the kingdom that dominates the planet. That's how it works.
See, this is why I call the Watchtower a mini Catholic church, because the Catholic Church is doing the same thing, right? With all this.
Well, who's advising JW is the Catholic Church. I mean, Massimo Intravene is kneeling before the Pope, correct? That's one of our key.
He is a Catholic, yes.
That's not conspiracy. That's on your jw.org. You can go and see it.
Yes. And I'm, I go to his links, Massimo's links, his own links of the couple of places that he runs, and have read his testimonies and stuff. He's a brilliant man. He's a very
Yes.
brilliant man.
Sensio.
Yes,
That's-
yes.
That's
Mhm.
one of his. Yeah,
And
Sensio.
then there's another one too. I was at an academic place earlier this week, and I'll look up Jehovah's Witnesses in academic places and see how many PDFs I can get for free, right? So, and I get by with quite a bit actually. And I
Yes.
noticed I came across one of them under Jehovah's Witnesses that he wrote, and I'm like, that's where he is, But he does that. He has like this thing, like an anti-cult thing going on.
Oh yeah.
If you ever,
Well,
this is something that they are masters of, meaning him and his little. He has a group of people that will show up in court, and they'll be asked a question, and they'll go on and on and on and on in their answer, and on some more, to where you're waiting to hear you're patiently waiting to hear the answer in the midst of all they're going on about, but they never
Yeah.
really answer the question.
yeah. Yeah.
They're masters of this, and so Watchtower does this too. it's in
Well,
court.
I started recording these things and playing it back to them and going, well, this was called a big obfuscation strategy.
Okay.
I got so fed up with it. I just recorded it. And I go, well, you haven't provided the answer. And you know what research department would say? We absolutely have provided the answer.
Yes, they would.
It's a middle finger. That's what it is. Yeah.
Pretty much. Yep.
Yeah. So you've
And if you
hit
can't find the answer, there's something wrong with you when they have purposely been this vague. So they'll
Yeah.
throw that at you.
So you're going, oh, you are vague. And they're saying, well, that's the answer. Bye.
Mhm.
Now we're
Yeah.
very busy. Yeah. So I used to record those things for my own mental health. Because
This is actually an explanation for if you think you're being gaslighted, one of the confirmations is you start recording everything.
Yeah.
And I've done the same thing. I just start recording everything because I got back later.
I look at some of these things. Some of them I cringe. If you go, oh well, Matt, go back to some of the things where they are really damned. Some of it I can't because I go back and I listen to it and I go, I want to transcribe this thing, and I'm actually embarrassed for myself. Does it make sense? I cringe that I'm actually right in the middle of this stupid, bloody meeting that's going on, where they're just gaslighting and it's manipulative, and I'm going, you know what, I'm embarrassed. I'll tell you why I'm embarrassed, because you can actually hear me losing control of the situation, and I'm just going, yes, 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 whatever you say, yes. And that's why I'm embarrassed. I can hardly play some of these things that I've recorded, but I keep those things because I go, this is classical manipulation. But
what would happen if you interrupted them, stopped them, and held them accountable?
I've done that.
Target. Okay.
I've absolutely done that. I mean, on some of these meetings, I've walked out because it's just abusive straight, and I go, well, I'm not supporting this. I'm leaving. Bye. If you guys want to have this argument and scream at each other and get egotistical, I would do it on a Christian principle, and I'd warn them. I'd give them the 3 warning approach and go, no, I can't support this. But that would just show I'm not part of the club. And then later on, they go, we're so embarrassed. This isn't loyalty, Matt. And I'm going, well, you guys can't sort things out. You're breaking all the rules. You're breaking all your own rules. How am I supposed to sit there and support this stuff? No, Linda James, I didn't fit in. And remember, I was in Gaga land. I was in this bubble. I actually thought that this was Satan coming into the congregation, not realizing, no, this was Satan running the congregation.
Well, we've been taught that any distraction from this narrow, route that we're taking is of Satan. Many, many meetings involve Satan's going to try to distract you by this. Satan's coming after us. Satan this, Satan that. I was called a demonized bitch by my mother my whole childhood. And then
Yeah.
this movie came out called The Exorcist. And people at
Okay.
school were calling me Linda Blair and The Exorcist, which of course
Good grief.
I didn't get to see the movie, but here I was, a young kid with long wavy hair and very blue light eyes, which is
You were like the possessed kid in. Oh, man.
so here I am being called this at school, and my mom's calling me this. I must be possessed, even though I didn't believe. I knew I wasn't as bad as people wanted to convince me that I was, but at the same
See.
time, my fear was I was possessed. So much so that as a young
I don't
adult,
know what to say.
I told this friend of mine, whatever you do, don't ever lay hands on me. Because some Christians will do this, laying hands on someone and praying for them, because I just knew that if they laid hands on me, it would turn into an exorcism, and I would have demons flying.
Jeez, Linda James. Well, what is it with this? Okay, look, here's another thing that's a difficult one, is this actual laying on of hands, where you've got some I'm gonna just describe it for what it actually really is. Some slimy service desk person or branch committee person putting their hands rubbing your shoulders. Now, I look back and I realize this is all the grooming process, and this is part of the abuse culture. Really,
Yes.
I'm horrified. I'm absolutely horrified. And then you've got your branch committee with their photographs on Instagram. Oh, this is the young person I'm studying with, and this week we're talking about sex. And I'm seeing they're aroused by, it's so cringe, this, Linda James. It's so cringe. And then if you ever show that you've got too much attention towards opposite sex or the same sex or anything, then you're labeled. But they are the ones that are doing it, and
See, I know what you're talking about. If you're at the store, say you're at the market, even if you're with a friend, and they start massaging your shoulders like that, and just acting like this is what buddies do to relax each other, it's really socially unacceptable. So I, as a hairdresser doing hair for my business, people would come into the salon where I would work, and their expectations was I would be touching them like that. I would be in their scalp. I would be in their hair. But if I was standing in line at the market and did all of that, or other places, it's unacceptable for me to do that to somebody I've never met. But if they walk into the salon, sit in my chair, and I do that, it is acceptable. It's socially acceptable because they know that I'm going to come into their space. But when somebody that's a friend of yours or not a friend, and they come into your space, and you have no idea of, like, I have a bubble around me, and people should ask my permission before entering it, you have no idea that your boundaries are being crossed because you have no idea you have any boundaries.
Well, it was I couldn't keep traveling with these persons around the world to this dedication of this RTO, this dedication of this Bethel. I was on that train, and I found I'm going to be careful with your channel. Old men with their arms around these very young teenage girls, and they would go, "Oh, I'm her grandfather. I'm her grandfather." It is so cringy, and then it's the old men going to their Bible studies with the young girls or the young boys, or
Mm-hmm. And what's really sad is I'm assuming that their parents of these young girls are probably encouraging them. to this, it's, somebody of this certain stature. You know what I'm saying?
They're able to identify, and it's coming, and they're going, oh, the parents, they've been abused. It's this whole cycle. It's the generational cycle. It's just producing the same profile.
Okay.
They target this.
Okay.
Yeah, and they go, oh, look how helpful we are, and the mother or the father or the single parent, oh, we're so grateful you've come into our lives. It's perpetuating the same thing, Linda James. I come in on these assignments, and I look back now and I realize, this thing. And when the police tell me, Matt, you are involved in something that is so interwoven, you have no idea. When a policeman is showing me how to protect myself with a weapon and saying, you need to go to a gun range to protect yourself because you have a target on your back, Matt, for uncovering this network. Just by being, he's going, I can see what you are. You're sincere. You living in your own world. You have no idea what you have uncovered from Cape to Cairo. You have no idea. And I'm thinking, he's just a cop that's mouthing off and sensational. No, he's telling you the truth. He is telling you.
See, the thing about those of us that don't, okay. What I recognize in you is a sense of idealisticness. Like you're being idealistic. I recognize it because I am too. And it's sad because it ends up not serving us all that well eventually. But it's not, as old as I am, my skin has not gotten thick enough. I'm still idealistic. I'm still sensitive. I haven't gotten hardened yet. Enough to be able to handle heavier stuff, but I am where I am, and it's,
yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I kind of see that in you. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know, but you're definitely for justice.
In my mind, when when I've got a memory of somebody massaging my shoulders, I go back and I'm sort of breaking their fingers, in my imagination.
Yes.
And or defending myself or going, right, you're gonna get smacked,
Okay.
Linda James, that's a bit of a shock thing I've given you there.
So you saw it as a violation, but then you felt
Absolutely. They're coming into my personal space. They're uninvited. Yes. This thing is all a grooming story.
Yes, that's right.
And I didn't comply with it. I wasn't one of the boys.
Yeah. And it's a power thing too. So a big thing that's happening here in the U.S. is Epstein files. And certain victims that have spoken out. And this has been not given its justice for going on 30 years. And recently, a person, Pam Bondi, that's higher up in the echelons of our government, couldn't even look at them when asked to apologize to them for. I'm not going to go any further because I'm not clear on that.
Got you.
You know what I'm saying? So,
yep.
And one of them is a man, so when it comes to this kind of violation, it's never about consensual lovemaking. It's about power and control.
That's it.
It's you know what I'm saying? So it doesn't matter what sex it is, but it's the overpowering of them.
Yeah.
And what's sad too is that sometimes the survivors within that time frame has fallen in love, where they think they're in love with their perpetrators, or their perpetrators might talk to them like they're just as guilty as what the perpetrator is. and kind of pray for God's forgiveness. So making them almost as responsible as the perpetrator is, and that guilt keeps them down. So it's a very sad thing that what seems to be going on. It's like the higher elites. It's like the spider web of all kinds of elites. That this is a common thing that happens within all kinds of corporations or all kinds of cultures. That it happens. It's horrible.
Yes. Who was talking about double binds earlier? Linda James. I can't remember. But is it Gregory Bateson in 1960 did the whole study on that? I mean, that's where this thing of double binds came up. Let me see.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So Hassan would have gone into that, but scholars who studied that. Robert J. Lifton. Do you remember Robert J. Lifton? Through Reform and the Psychology of Totalism. That's 1961, eh?
Mm-hmm.
Hassan only really, that work only started to really emerge or get recognized round about after 2000.
Yes.
I mean, it's largely unknown.
I remember reading Combating Cult, I guess, Mind Control, before he printed up one that included the Jehovah's Witnesses. And as I was reading it, I'm like, oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. Like, wow, all of it applies. You see these techniques and tactics used in all these different groups that are the ones you've lived through or experienced. Didn't know the names of them. And it's like they all have the same playbook, even though there really isn't a playbook written up. But it's the way of a narcissist and the way that they control and the way that they feed off of others. They find joy within others' pain. And as much as I want to believe that does not happen, it does.
It absolutely does. Did I mention Gregory Bateson? Because that was coming off the top of my... So Gregory Bateson, I just want to separate that. He was 1950, eh? That was 1950 area. So he was talking about this double binds, which came up in the Norway court thing. Liv Gabrielson says dilemma. So dilemma was the language she used. Mm-hmm. But when you get a person that's receiving contradictory messages, where one message cancels the other, and they can't comment on the contradiction or leave the situation. That was what was happening to you. I'm listening to your story as you growing up and you're in these special classes, which I go, that's what saved you. What did you say? You dodged the bullet.
Yes.
You've got this classic pattern. Oh, you must obey freely.
Right.
So what does Bateson do? Bateson didn't study religion specifically. He was studying communication systems, and then later scholars applied the framework to institutions, much to their horror. So scholars who studied high control groups, Hassan, for instance, you've got several major researchers independently making documents, and then it converges in your internet age. This is what happened. Internet happened, and so now you were able to cross-reference easily or more easily with these dynamics in these intense ideological groups. I think we were mentioning Applewhite. Who was the other one?
Yes.
You were saying, this was the bait, and being sent to college, and it's looking benevolent and it's looking great. What was it? That was Kool-Aid stuff, right?
Yeah, Flavor Aid. Yes.
Yeah. So
unfortunately, Kool-Aid was pissed after that Jim Jones thing because it put a bad name for Kool-Aid. When in actuality, they used Flavor Aid, which is a cheaper version of Kool-Aid.
I like the Kool-Aid jug, the orange Kool-Aid character. I mean,
Yep.
But yeah.
Drinking the Kool-Aid. If you ever heard that term, now they're really drinking the Kool-Aid. That comes from Jim Jones.
Well, in the the South Africa branch, it's uranium. That's what they're drinking.
Uranium?
We tested it. Uranium, yeah.
Wow, you're right. Okay. I think you've mentioned that.
Yeah, because that was your mining place. They pumped water into all the underground gold tunnels. And, of course, it's got all this uranium and poisons. No, Johannesburg's a mess, eh? They're even breathing in this dust. Oh, it's just terrible. And then the water. Then we're having the water tested because the branch was putting water from the river onto this aquaflow for cleaning the water.
Okay.
Yeah. So we had our own independent cooling systems, our own independent electricity, solar panel farms, lithium ion battery walls for it's very sophisticated. Its own independent diesel power generators, its own petrol tanks underground. It really is an incredible place. I mean, it's a city. It is a township. That's exactly what it is.
So do they have a good filtering system for the water?
We did. We were producing water that was better than the Blue Drop standard, which was what the municipality was providing.
Okay.
But Bethel wouldn't use it for drinking consumption because they said, we detected effluent in it. And so, well, if you've detected effluent in that, you're being very selective because there's effluent in the Blue Drop water as well. You can't eliminate it. It's just so many particulates per liter or whatever, and the uranium that's in there as well. I mean, we went through all of those studies. Very extensive. I got to learn all kinds of things about what was going on that level. And the poisons that were being put back into the system, being put back into the water flow that was coming out at the Crocodile River too, that was leaking from the branch. Very, very similar parallels to what was happening in the States, burying things from
the printer's ink. They found that. And they called it the sins of our fathers, right?
Yes. Oh, yeah, absolutely. I know those places. The rubble where they've buried it and put land over it. And remember, South Africa is very, very much Wild West. Or the kind of rules that you've got in the United States, I would say, are stricter than what's going on in South Africa. South Africa has been free for a very, very, very long time. Yeah.
Free fall?
Free for all. It's
okay. I see
like
what you're saying.
Anything goes. You just do it, bury it. Who cares? Because I've spoken about South Africa's got this perfect law, but how is it enforced? It's crazy what's going on. It's absolutely crazy what happens here. That's how you have cartels going in and threatening the electricity board.
Right.
It's very, very mafia integrated. It's like
it sounds like the mafia. Mm-hmm.
There's several forms of governance that are going on in this country. Not one form of governance. It's all sorts of things going on. So Margaret Singer's another one. Have you ever heard of her?
Yes. Yes. She's cults within our midst. Yes.
Oof,
and I was
mine. Yeah.
I actually have the book behind me.
Yeah, there's one. Junja Lelich, Bounded Choice.
Love her. Yes.
She's 2004.
She was working with Margaret Singer, and then that thing happened in San Diego with Applewhite. So they worked together.
Did you talk about a connection with Leah Remini?
Leah Remini had a special, which, by the way, my very first apostate was on that show, meaning the very first apostate that I became friends with and was an amazing person who just decided to be my friend and helped me go through the time of leaving what the Christianity of the Watchtower to become part of mainstream Christianity. And her name is Cynthia Hampton. She sat behind one of the couches next to Fifth, the black gentleman, and she was wearing a cobalt blue dress. And her story was that her husband used to beat on her. So the elders told her to go home and try not to be such a nag. And then she saw him smoking and mentioned that to the elders, and then they disfellowshipped him. And that was the story that Leah Remini said, unfrickin' believable. But let me tell you something. When I met her, and she told me this story, all I could think was, yeah, that sounds about right. I didn't even realize at that time, like, to me, that was normal. That's a normal Tuesday that you get beat on. That was a normal Tuesday to me because the family I grew up in, I was beat a lot. My mother used to wake me up in the middle of the night and beat the fuck out of me. This was just my norm. So when she was telling me this story, it wasn't shocking to me yet. It was like, yeah, that sounds about right. You get disfellowship for smoking and not beating. That was just my norm.
Yes.
So Cynthia Hampton, and her personality and mine is actually very, very different. She had me sing at her wedding. I Swear, that song, I Swear, that was their wedding song. And that was very cool.
Linda James, I want to apologize to persons that are in live chat. I noticed that StreamYard sometimes jams up, and I compare to the YouTube comments, and I can suddenly see all the comments that have been flooding in. I thought that it had stopped. So sorry about that. I see Dehydrated Nurse has been chirping up, Purple's been chirping, Happy Thoughts has been chirping. I mean, there's been lively chat going on, but from what I can see in our StreamYard, it somehow jammed up and it just didn't update. So sorry to anybody if you feel like we haven't been seeing you. Just haven't been seeing you because of a glitch. Sorry about that.
That happens, yeah.
So look, Linda James, my question was who's trained the organization to do this? And you know what the answer is?
What?
Nobody. It's part of our human nature. It's part of our human nature because like these ones, Hassan, and these ones that we've mentioned, Janja Lajic and Margaret Singer, these ones, the key insight that came from the research that scholars generally were agreeing on was this, and this was a revelation to me because I was going, I never attended these classes. How the hell did it get like this? But in their research, they say, look, this is a natural emergence. In high control systems, you don't need to be taught manipulation techniques. They often evolve organically because such patterns stabilize the authority system. That's why we say the world's a cult. It's full of cults upon cults upon cults because, in other words, leaders, okay, they experiment with rules and messaging, and it strengthens that increased compliance, which you see persisting. And so over time, your paradoxes, your dilemmas, your catch-22 situations, your double binds, those commands become institutionalized. So that's very similar to how bureaucracies and governments, you talk about ICE, right? That's how this thing develops contradictory policies without anybody designing them intentionally. And it just strengthens the authority. So it's actually a natural development that these researchers saw as part of our darker nature if you don't have the right kind of checks and balances. Absolutely.
Yes.
This is our human society, folks. So this is why it actually...
I'm sorry, it tends to be coming from those that are high on the scale of narcissism.
Yeah. Yeah, and they get into the leadership positions to try and gain their own power, which is why we were talking about this rubbing shoulders or this grooming story.
Yes.
Because your cognitive overload right, that comes from double binds, or these, when you were talking about when you were young and go, this doesn't make sense, Mom. This, I'm working these things out.
Right.
And going, this is not fitting my brain. And then you're getting ostracized for this. Oh, you're the demon-possessed child.
That's right.
Yeah. So
that's what happens when you don't conform. You will be dehumanized.
But I hear Granny on the Watchtower to this day saying, oh, my brain's foggy. I've never been able to really grasp the deeper things here. I guess I'm just not very studious. I hear her saying this. And I hear this being said by, guess where? Research department's top tiers.
Oh,
I kid you not. Linda James, I kid you. And they're going, oh, I've got to go and get my medication, my anti-anxiety medication, because my brain isn't very good. And Matt, would you mind just reading over the Watchtower? Please don't reveal this Watchtower. It's going to be a main article. Please, would you look at it? Because I'm just not confident and I'm not as sharp as I used to be. Would you mind looking over it?
I
hear this.
Yes.
Yeah.
So they're doubting themselves. Wow.
Gee.
Okay.
And that's the same guy who's asking a branch committee member, can I go to the bathroom, please? No, I've heard it. And I'm going, this is stunning, this. So only leaders who can resolve the paradox with this dependency thing, this is a natural development. They haven't been taught it. It's the narcissistic thing, that's the ego that's pushed those persons to these positions. They want people to have self-doubt. Oh, yeah, you're a great Christian if you're doubting, because
that makes us more dependent.
Yeah.
That makes us more dependent on these people that are in positions of power and authority.
Yeah. So your top researcher who's been writing the Watchtowers for years, Linda James, 40 years of this, okay, or more. All right. I can think of some that have been doing it since 1980. All right, or the late 70s. Your members assume confusion is their own fault. No, it's not. This is a design.
Yes,
absolutely.
It is strategically done. Yes, you're right.
Yeah. Yvonne saying to Dallas, modus operandi or method of operation. Yeah. Yeah, MO. That's the MO. And then Lynn Vest says a lot of elders were alcoholics.
Why wouldn't they drink? Their brain needs a bit of a break. And I don't drink, but to me, it's understandable that drinking happens at Bethel. Their mind has been going through all these gymnastics all day long, or week long, or whatever. They want peace of mind, right?
I can't tolerate any alcohol, by the way.
Okay.
I can't handle it. Alcohol and me just do not work. I'm so sensitive. So I don't. I might have a little bit in food, or there's a little bit of a toleration, but I can't handle the alcohol. Can't do it. So anything that affects the brain, I just kick it. But Lynn Vest says, I know of an elder who'd be raging drunk, causing with my non-believing husband, fighting and rolling on the ground, drunk the next morning in prayer, conducting the Watchtower lesson on Sunday. Yeah, where's that? That's a pattern that's worldwide. Yeah, sure. Dallas is on your side, says, Linda, you were abused to get what you got. Hopefully it wasn't with any tools. And then, of course, Dallas is thanking Yvonne. But in the comments, they're recognizing the patterns because, these effects, they reinforce the perceived legitimacy even when your logic conflicts, which was what was happening to you when you were at school, right, in these special classes. But here's the important distinction, if I may. Scholars don't claim that all religions use these methods. So in their research, they said, no, you got good religions, you got bad religions, you got good cults, you got bad ones. You happen to be in a bad one. So the research was focusing on specific high control religious environments. Hassan talks about the Moonies, for instance. Yeah, absolutely. So I don't know. I don't know if that's helpful talking like that. I get quite passionate about it. PKRPLYBY says control groups target acceptance which when members buy into the JW language, now a person speaks. Acceptance, then lastly, you submit physical acceptance by forcing field service, mental herd acceptance.
Yes. Yes. You want to hear something? I had a friend of mine saying that people are calling me a sheep. What does this mean? See, back in the org, being a sheep is a good thing. Separating the sheep from the goats, right? Being a sheep is very Christ-like. But in actuality, being a sheep means you're easily heard. You're easily directed. You'll just go in whatever direction somebody sends you. So when she was getting this, it was not a compliment. It was a a put down that she doesn't think for herself. She's not thinking, more critically.
Yeah, Linda James, I must apologize to anybody if I was sort of ranting or getting into some kind of mode there, but yeah.
Well, you were just flowing, actually. To me, that's cool conversation. I didn't find anything bothersome.
Oh, thanks for that. Yeah, so I think the comments are sort of coming in. We've got Christopher. Thanks for revealing that, Christopher. Appreciate that. Purple always comes up with cool comments. The Lord is my shepherd. He shall fleece me each year until I am fat enough to eat. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Yeah. We've got great awareness. And of course, John, we do see you. Thanks for your comments, John. Appreciate that. John Marciano. And Dehydrated Nurse also came in. Good to be with you. And it was such a nice surprise seeing you recently. So thanks for that. That was quite cool. Very cool. Not quite. Yeah.
I'm going to take my headphones off in just a minute, but please continue.
Okay. Yeah, sure. I'm going to just read out some of the comments here. Sheila, you said on the last of 4 visits from 8 elders, one tapped my arm and said, you have built up a good name over the years. You don't want to lose it. I said, scriptures first, always the scriptures. They just left. Sounds like you had a rough time, Sheila. Really does. Not cool, but it's relatable. And then J. Mars, Epstein Files, Pam Bondi blew it. She looked stupid, totally full of sarcasm. Big Mac, really great to see you in the chats there. Purple talking about the grooming. If their mother makes them think it's okay from when they were children, they will never question it. Yeah, that's the normalizing. So I think, yeah, that is kind of the natural process that comes in, isn't it? It's not that anybody's going to any particular class. It's just revealing our human nature, or the persons with perhaps narcissistic tendencies. They are the ones that go into these or attracted to governance and the system like that. Absolutely. Institutes, not all institutes. We were making a distinction there, but yeah, that's what's happened in these high control situations. I look at Norway and I go, wow, I think I'm going to be revisiting these transcripts. I'm going to be revisiting these videos if they're available, because it really put top tier thinking out on display to the world. It really did. Linda James, are you back?
I'm here. Yes.
Hello.
Hello.
Yeah.
I've
been practicing now. Okay, yeah. The
Margaret
contaminating
Singer.
fight, continuing fight. Yes, Singer.
Take back your life. John Jalalich.
Who's that? Linda James didn't quite focus there.
Take back your
Take
life.
back your life. Okay.
John Jalalich, who you were mentioning earlier.
Geez, you've got a great library there.
Freedom of mind. Stephen Hassan.
Ooh. Wow. You have a good
The
library.
newer version.
Dallas says it's about training and disciplining children while they're still young and malleable. Yeah, you got that. You got that right.
Combating cult mind
Combating
control.
mind control.
Steve Hassan.
Okay.
Crisis of Conscience.
Oh,
Raymond
right.
Franz.
I
One
burned
to-
my copy when I was young. It was in our home library, which was used by the branch committee and coordinators and missionaries. Our home became a missionary home. We had a phenomenal library. Somebody had put it in the library, and one of the circuit overseers did his nut. What is this doing here? I said, I don't know.
Yeah,
Don't know how this
that'll
got in
happen.
here.
This turned out to be an amazing book.
The Subtle Power of Spiritual Abuse. Who wrote
Yes.
that?
It looks like David Johnson and Jeff Van Voderen. Can you see it?
Yeah, I can. That's your book. You got really superb books. Dallas says nice book collection, and they are. I agree.
Thank you.
My book collection is the books that were used on Writing Desk.
That's cool.
From the actual Writing Desk, from the branch, from Watchtower. It's got the actual Watchtower stamps in there.
And here it is this is the one Bible by the Watchtower that has, what is the word I'm looking for? Where it'll have the numbers there to little notes.
Oh, the actual manuscripts.
So
Let me see if I've got one. Can I just excuse myself for a moment? I just want to check my library. Hold on.
my previous roommate brought this to me, and I about lost my mind. Said, "Don't you ever bring any Watchtower stuff in here?" And this happened to be one that I later used. Where it would have like, I don't know what it's called, where it would show a certain little symbol or a number, and you go down and you look at the bottom and it says something that goes with it. This is one of those Bibles from the Watchtower that did that. So I'm down at the bottom with a little symbol that says literally, what is there to me and to you? And then it says, see Joshua 22:24. Footnote, inherit LXX, take possession of. So they have, I forget what this is called, when there's a symbol and you go down to the bottom and read what it says next to the symbol. I want to call it footnotes, but I don't think that's what it is. So there's a symbol that's like a circle, and I just went to just a miscellaneous page and it says any man, and then my Lord, small my, small LORD, and the LXX. That's I think that's the sea scrolls. Then David added, but omitting by the LXX. So I used to have a concordance and an interlinear by the Watchtower and by Zandervan, I think. But the best way I like to listen to things is, the best way I like to read is when it's an audiobook. And the latest audiobook that I'm reading is called The Culting of America, which is written by Daniela, who's the knitting cult lady. who her original book is called Uncultured, which I've read that. And that's the best way I like to read things. And you know how they were talking earlier about, when I say they, I mean like on Six Screens, how they went after Avoid JW, basically because they have a bunch of Watchtower literature that's available for downloading. I'm wanting you to know that there's also places called archive.org, I believe. You'll be able to find things there as well that are sometimes able to be downloaded.
What happened to Avoid JW?
I haven't opened it up yet. I'm going to do it now. Rick Farron said it was kind of down, like it was because they had can't connect to the site. Wow.
Oh, really?
Okay. Yeah. I'm going to open it up again. Can't connect to the site. Okay.
Ooh.
I'm just going to hold it up.
Is this because of Norway?
Oh, yeah. I totally believe so. See, what's going to happen now? What's going to happen now because of Norway is there will be Jehovah's Witnesses that will have gotten wind of it. And then they're going to think to themselves, maybe I should research outside of the org. So they have to shut this stuff down. And I heard they're going after Paul Grundy too, which is jwfacts.com.
Wow.
Yes.
I got something from, I'll tell you where the note came from. It came from Emirates. And it was very specific. Are you ready for this one?
Sure.
And it was very subtle. It was subtle. It was sort of done in a very friendly, matter-of-fact way. Do you have transcripts for the Norway?
I love it. You haven't even finished reading it to me, and I'm already busting the gut laughing.
Yeah. Did you see on my channel, I did something in Arabic?
I did see that, and I didn't open it up. Now,
that was why. I thought, okay, you know what I'll do? Because if it's a genuine person, I will see the interaction. And I've already sussed things out because of that.
Okay.
I'm giving you an insight as to why suddenly...
You know, there's connections. Yeah, I hear you. I hear you. So JW Facts.
So that was part of exposing. Yeah.
It's still up, but they're going after.
Ooh, this is aggressive, eh?
Paul Grundy. Paul Grundy is the one who has opened up jwfacts.com, which he has it CC, so it's Creative Commons. So it's
Linda James, they've gone after my channel, or they made an attempt.
I just got done getting permission to put links on mine. Oh, is that right? Wow. So I think.
So I'll tell you what my workaround was.
Okay.
Yo, this is aggressive as hell. That's all that's happened is it's just hit me how aggressive this thing is.
Yes.
I didn't realize they took out Avoid JW. Wow. Well then, look, my job is transcribing. That's my work. I've been doing that for JW for years.
And you do it for my channel, which I cannot even tell you how thankful I am. Stuff like that would take me 14 hours. It would.
So there is. I want to just tell the audience there's nothing wrong with you transcribing, say, for instance, Norway court, but where it gets tricky is distribution. All right. Mm-hmm. And by the way, there's a nuance with that. If you now distributing this thing, and you're saying, oh, this is like, or it's got this idea that's an official transcript, that's a problem. That's a problem legalistically. And especially before Norway has made its decision, because you can bet that JW is trying to use methods. And let me tell you something, that Rizdal is got a brilliance to his job, eh?
Yes.
He doesn't come out of Harvard for no reason.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And I noticed him tuned into the traffic that was going on the internet and incorporating my observation. I put a note. This guy is reacting according to what's happening in these kind of discussions. I was blown away with the detail, by the way. And he was incorporating it into the Norway presentation.
Yep.
I was like, wow.
When he said nobody's afraid of getting shunned. Nobody's afraid of that. Nobody's bothered by that. I'm like, what? Wow.
Did you notice what pissed him off? Were you tuning into his micro expressions?
No.
And where he's looked pissed off?
No, I didn't.
I might be wrong. I might be wrong about this, but my observation was that there were certain things that he was furious at. And one of the places where I detected that, and again, it's only my opinion, let me be clear, it's my personal opinion, was when Liv Gabrielson was going, oh, we don't have to have these reports about harm that you say, oh, there's been no reports of harm that are going on. She goes, our government must be preventative for harm. If you're telling us that we have to have a disaster before we act, this is not responsible governance.
Yes.
So she allowed him to do this whole big presentation on, oh, no, there haven't been these reports. She just goes, you don't need them. Next, moving on. And he was like, ah!
She just disregarded his whole line of reasning, which was
because I'm going to put it from an abuser point of view. So it was almost like the snotty little girl, the little girl that's come into the Supreme Court. I'm over exaggerating. Okay?
Right.
But yeah, and she wasn't doing great health wise. I mean, she was like struggling,
Yes.
And I'm going, oh gosh, is this this thing? And going, Matt, don't underestimate Liv Gabrielson just because she's got a snotty nose. Or there's a reason why she's in the Supreme Court. And
Yes.
if you're going that Mr. Rizdal, as good as he is in his job, is doing some performance. And he was doing performance, absolutely staring her out. And there were all kinds of signature moves in his pursing lips and the way he was conducting himself. She was doing the same, but it was
wow.
like, yeah, she was doing the same, but I'm going, oh, she's got an awareness of herself, which, and I was going, oh, is she and what crossed my mind was I was going, oh, is she actually playing into this? I'm very sick.
That's funny.
Then dawned on me, I'm going, oh, well, you got me for a while there. A little glass of water going. Did you see her with a little glass of water going under the table?
I did see that. Purple, I absolutely love you. Thank you so much. You are so precious. This is what Purple Rhymes with Orange said. If they manage to shut down your channel, you can do your Saturday night chats on mine until you get it fixed. That
Purple,
there is love and support.
Awesome.
I love her. Mwah, thank you.
Purple, you are phenomenal. Thank you.
So caring. And see, that
Okay.
is a person who's not an ex-Jehovah's Witness. She has, she relates to this because of her family that she grew up in is very much like a cult, you know?
Linda James, I'm going to excuse myself because I feel there are demons emanating from this.
It's so funny that everything's a demon. Um, if you are involved in a group where everything is a demon and the demons are coming after you, they might be trying to project fear on you and want you to be scared crapless the whole time, because that's how they can easily control you, which I believe could be happening in the US by us visually seeing what ICE is doing, okay, to ordinary citizens of the United States, um, and or people that they believe are undocumented. The way that they're handling it is violently handling it. And every time we see something, it's traumatizing to us. And when we see too much of it, which it's happening all the time, 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 and if it's not one thing, it's another, that kind of could fall under the category of a psyop, meaning the war is actually with our brains. The war is actually to fuck with our heads, okay? To take us down by way of that. Yeah. So I think that's strategic.
I'm blown away with how aggressive this thing is, because I know that even my channel, which I don't regard as very much, that they've made their attempt.
Oh yeah.
I'm bewildered. I'm
not.
bewildered that they've taken out.
I'm
So
wondering.
then my paranoia pays off with all of these legal notices, because you can see why I plug it. I go, oh, this is not a definitive conclusion, errors and omissions, accepted thesis, antithesis, synthesis, come in
The
with
way I
essential
see
critical thinking. I've got all of those safeguards.
this is my view. That's right. I could be wrong. All of that is incredibly important if you're, you know, speaking of certain groups.
Because there's nothing wrong with having a working thesis, even for something as like Norway. I'm in another country. I'm in South Africa. That also makes a difference. I can comment in South Africa about another country.
Sure. Purple rhymes with orange. She put her link to her YouTube
Are we
page.
losing our stream?
No, but she says, everyone save my channel. If any Saturday night you don't see Linda here, check there. So she's just putting up her link there so that in case, oh my God, Cass D33 is here. I miss you. Oh my God, I'm so glad. Okay. Y'all got to check out her channel too. She's old school hilarious. And she's naughty too, in a really fun way. It's really cool. It's very, very cool. So if you guys could just take down Purple's link, set it aside, and in case you don't see me here some night, we can pet it up. We can go there.
So I'm just responding to the threat in the chat.
There's a threat in the chat.
Do you see what's going on? Yeah, you've got NNI F4J. Do we take you is your sense of humor NNF4J? You can just respond. We've got a response from NNI F4J. Let's take a look.
I'm not seeing that. But maybe.
Okay, so I think NNIF4J looks like an automated bot to me.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not seeing that.
But thank you, NNIF4J, for your opinion.
Okay. Casty33 says, can you catch new arrivals up on the conversation? I'm not even sure what that means, Casty.
On the other stream of the story. Yeah. It looks like it's on the YouTube stream. It's only coming through on the StreamYard. Oh, so YouTube has filtered it. Okay. So YouTube has identified it and filtered. So that is your YouTube moderator is filtering the JMars. What it sounds like, JMars, let me just explain to you that there is somebody coming in with some quite potentially provocative. Just has an automatic moderator, so it's not coming through, but I can see it on the StreamYard.
Hi, Happy Heretic. Yvonne, I want a refund. Paradise didn't happen. You know, we just never know. We never know. But, yeah. And I think Mega Grey Wolf was being kind too, offering his channel. I'll be happy to help you get things running in such an event, Apostababe. So both of them, never been a Jehovah's Witness, are like, I'll back you up. I'll keep you going. I love you guys. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You can see posts on the bottom of the screen. Okay.
Yeah, Linda James, I apologize if I gave somebody attention that shouldn't have been given attention. But yeah, we've seen it all before. I think a lot of these things are automated. Quite frankly, I think that's just an automated thing. Yeah, kind of used to this. It only caught my attention because I think it's one of those things that just automatically gets moderated. I wasn't too sure. It caught me off that I saw it on the StreamYard.
That makes sense, yeah.
Anyway, you know, when you come across these things, what does it tell you? It tells you you're in the right direction.
Does it?
Yeah.
Thank you. You know what, though? I love doing this show. Even when I don't have plans of what I'm going to do, I look forward to doing it, and conversations always happen. They flow. I'll come up with an idea along the way, and I work better that way rather than having a script. Sure, I might have some articles set aside that I want to read. Usually I look them up and can't find them. But yeah. Mega Grey Wolf says, yep, so if Purple is busy, I can help fire up the stream. That's so freaking awesome. Oh, Major's your co-host. Okay, and shares my StreamYard subscription. We are family. That's what we are. I hear it. I got all my sisters with me. Yeah.
Yeah. Talking of sisters, Purple's right just asked Matt, check on the upper right-hand side if you're on private chat or comments. No, it's comments. So I think it's being filtered by YouTube. So I think it's fine. It's benign. Yeah, geez, Linda James. Okay, sorry, that took my mental load. Whatever was there.
Yeah, it's surprising when that happens.
Well done, whoever you are. You won that one. But you know what it is? I like to look out for a channel. I mean, I if somebody is writing something hectic, I like to sort of say, well, let's flag this thing. Anyway.
Right.
Yeah, so what were we talking about? So thanks, Linda James, for telling us about your school days and also your, Sweet 16 experiences and also your not so sweet experiences when you were in these special classes.
I loved being in special ed, but because they always were good teachers, it was just the normal people. The normal people. And also, too, it's like I wasn't diagnosed with autism until after 50, which of helped to explain a lot of things. It's like a Russian language writing or Ukraine.
But I mean, you got so much about, you were talking, or you started the show with Pavlov's dog, right?
Yes.
And the brainwashing, and you go, well, I'm your favorite apostate, I'm apostate babe. So you've embraced this thing because, what is it? The brainwashing, the spinning, how so-called apostates are actually free thinkers. What is it? Think happens. And actually, that's
shift happens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that's the problem in a high control religion or a destructive cult. I mean, we're not talking about a positive cult. We're talking about a destructive cult where there's unnatural conditioning from abusing leadership that knows exactly what it's doing for slave labor, because that's what it's about, building its own power, using, and I've seen persons in comments saying, oh, they're using the name Jehovah as an egregore. Now, I absolutely hear that. And I'm just making conversation here, Linda James, based on what you were saying earlier, because you're absolutely tracking something very, very important. What you're describing is not random harm or overzealous belief. It's a deliberate behavioral conditioning inside a high control system. So when I heard you talking, I'm going, okay, Linda James, I actually love this stuff. I don't know that's how much you have to prepare for a live stream to talk about that. But I go, that's a great thesis that you're bringing in, because you're making very precise, intelligent points. That's clean language. I'm listening to it and I'm not having to decompile it very much. I'm just going, okay, I can absorb this. And it lands safely, and it's great for a live show. So when we're talking about Pavlov or brainwashing, it's important to say this very, very clearly. The problem wasn't that so-called apostates were free thinkers. The problem was that the free thinking itself was or considered pathological. I'm going to say pathologized. In other words, they are going, this is the, what did you say? Demonic thought. This is the disease thinking. And that's high control religion again, in a destructive cult. Leadership uses unnatural conditioning, fear, obedience, identity control.
Yes.
While knowing exactly what they're doing. It's not an accident. It's producing what? Compliance. Unpaid labor. Yeah. I've got persons up in Northern Africa writing to me about this, and I said, yeah, you don't have independence as a country. You don't have economical independence. It's institutional power again that's done through the religious system, all sanctified in the name of God. That's what's done largely. And I appreciate that there's positive religions. I appreciate that there's. I've got to just say this because I was talking about Islam earlier, and I know that we've got persons in the comments that are very much involved in this. But again, it's like any other system, be it medical, government, or whatever. You have this high control situation, and specifically with us, high control religion that was using deliberate conditioning like fear, obedience, identity control to suppress the free thinkers that threatened the system, because that threatens that labor, it threatens the power. And once you sense it, if we want to name Jehovah, because different persons have got different Jehovahs. You've got Freemason Jehovah, you've got Jehovah, you've got your top tier Jehovah that uses things as an egregore. So we're learning all these differentiations. So I'm going to say, Linda James, if I may, in my experience, the name Jehovah wasn't just belief. It functioned psychologically as part of a control system, because your fear and your obedience are attached to it, okay, through conditioning. We've looked at where this thing has come from, your Spanish monk, Martini. So,
Yes.
So questioning leadership, felt like betraying God himself. That was by design. That's how a coercive system, which came up in this Norway thing, and I'm actually enjoying that this has happened, Linda James, in a way.
When you're seeing it, the dots connect. It's incredibly fascinating, interesting, and yes, enjoyable, because you're going, it's really cool.
Yeah, so you started off with this, and I'm going, cool. Were you like foretelling the future? I didn't know about what happened with Avoid JW. Had no idea. So you've got. I feel like, this whole thing of Star Wars, the original Star Wars with the rebel fighters, and I almost feel like you've got this in this community, that this is the front line of being able to say, oh, by the way, we've triggered something here. And it aligns with the Pavlov coercive persuasion thing that you started off the show with, Linda James. You were already discussing, because I listen to you and I go, you're avoiding sounding like an attack on believers. You're very, very careful with that.
I
you
don't
were
want to
naming
attack believers,
you're naming intent, you're naming so that's naming the outcome, the conditioning, the labor, the power, and that's all that's happening there. You're reframing apostate as a label used to neutralize autonomy, and it's not coming through in a negative way. You're not derailing the conversations, you're actually deepening it. So cool. I appreciate that very much.
That feedback. I'm at a place today where I'm so proud, since the Norway thing, when the lawyer for the Watchtower said shunning is a term that apostates made up. When I first heard it, I about lost my mind with furiousness. The next day, I'm bringing it up and going, can you believe it? Today, I'm hysterically laughing about it and so proud. We came up. I'm just going to own that. Yeah, right. We came up with shunning. Sure, let's go with that. Let's go with that. If I told you, I'm going to wait till you're done.
Sorry, I'm making a racket. I'm just trying to respond to Cass D33. Cass is saying, I'm behind on the times. Can you ask Matthew Milagre to reintroduce himself and fill some of us in on his stance? I don't know what's important. I think one of the triggering things that I've said is I'm always a Jehovah's Witness.
Yes.
And people are going, what? You go, no, wait. Calm down, everybody. I've witnessed Jehovah, because they play around with this thing as in legal terms. But you're going, are you still active in the religion? Okay, I'm going to boil it down so that there's not a big, long life story. I got booted. when there was a liability. That's what happened. So they instructed the congregation, do this. It created harm. And I said, this is not what the governing body wants. And as soon as I did that, I got ejected from the system because it uncovered a liability. All right. So I came face to face with this. And in a way, if you want to comment about how I feel, I will quote a very well-known top-tier psychologist and criminologist, parapsychologist and criminologist. He says, Matt, if they ejected you, they did you a favor. So CAS D33, I don't know if that puts your mind at rest, maybe that helps, but I don't claim that I fit in here or I fit in there. I enjoy company. I enjoy Linda James's company. I enjoy the company of Purple and Mage Grey Wolf and Sheila and the various ones that come into these healing communities. I regard this as a healing community. This is a place where I can get my voice back. And I say to Linda James, I say, I'm not using as much pain medication as I was using before. And if there's a way that we're all interconnected and helping each other, I go, wow, this is top prize. So that's where I come from. Linda James, I don't know if that puts it in the right kind of way. I don't know.
Sure. It makes sense to me. I'm thinking about Rutherford, okay? And back to Russell and Rutherford. Russell hired Cole Porters to present
Yes.
the literature that Russell printed up. So he would put advertisement in papers and get people to present this, whatever he had printed up, and that they would be able to keep a percentage of it. Okay. But see, Watchtower made their money first on us. When we bought the literature, they made their money right then and there. When we take it out to the public, which we have to do because it's commissioned by God, then we go door to door and say, however much. I'm going to go back to when it was a quarter for a Watchtower and a quarter for an Awake. And which is the amount of printing and shipping. We were trained to say this. But it wasn't until I met Randall Waters, who used to work at Bethel in America, that I come to find that like a Watchtower and Awake basically costs them like 4 cents to make, maybe 6 cents to make. So they're making their profit right then and there on us. So how do we make sure that the literature that they're printing is something that they're going to get a profit from? Well, if every single Jehovah's Witness must have the literature to receive what God wants us to know, because God's always used some form of mediation like Moses or whatever, then we've become dependent upon this literature because it was called food in due season. That's how Jehovah fed us spiritual food. So we were dependent on the Watchtower and Awake. Now, everybody in the family gets a subscription. The wife, the husband, any kids, all had their own independent subscription, not prescription. Did I say prescription? Erase. It's subscription. So just the members alone having their own subscriptions before they go out and place the materials, they already have made their profit. It wasn't until Rutherford, I picture it being him sitting in prison for 11 or so months, that he pondered about how he was going to do things. And that's when he got out of prison. He made everybody somebody that had to go out and preach the word. But he did it first with the records, and that's when the religion became a theocracy. He declared it a theocracy. So when you hear of the year 1918 as being a year of importance, that's way after Russell's died. So Rutherford made it of importance. I also heard, and I haven't had it confirmed and I haven't found it anyplace, but I heard that Rutherford had somebody go to Germany and learn the practices of how things are done for to become like a basically to make up a totalitarian regime, and that there was some homework done there, and that they brought that back to Rutherford. That I don't know. I've heard this, but Rutherford did write a letter to Hitler, and his letter was basically, listen, we're with you. We think the same things you do. Matter of fact, we don't even care for those, ones that you don't care for. We're with you on this, hoping that Hitler wouldn't mess with them. But what that ended up doing was making the Jehovah's Witnesses one of the first ones that were taken into the concentration camps. He actually brought unnecessary attention to the Jehovah's Witnesses during that time. Hitler just blew him off when he wrote this letter to Hitler. So so when you hear about this letter, sometimes it's spoken of as a love letter because he was trying to kiss up to Hitler.
Yeah, it's the same strategy we saw in Norway.
Mm-hmm.
Same stuff. Yeah, to me, that Norway thing was, and it's going to remain a phenomenal education.
I think so too. I'm feeling pretty good about it, actually. There's a slight chance it could go in the direction for the state against the organization. But if that's the case, wouldn't you say, Matthew, that the organization will then take it to the Europe?
You've gone the next level. Yeah,
the only thing I would think that would hesitate from doing that is people viewing them like going to court so that you have the right to ostracise your member. Like that might be bad publicity. Okay, that's the only thing I can think.
They must realize
is they go up and up and up until there's no further to go up.
So how Rizdal was so obvious to people, right? Am I correct? Rizdal, I'm going, look, would I want to hire Rizdal to look after my interests? I certainly would consider him. He's right there. When I look him up on the internet, I look at the flying accolades and what he's achieved.
Okay.
Oh, there's no doubt about it. And when I saw him in court, did I see proficient? Yes. He was doing what he was told to do. He was doing what he was told. Now, I hear people saying, liar, 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 liar. Now, I don't know if you've seen how I've commented on that in my channel. I bring that on and go, okay, I hear what you're saying. But remember, he's doing his job as an advocate. Please realize. Yeah. So I'm looking at him, I'm going, well, if I wanted a representation, that's the kind of person I would get on board. Unless, of course, Gabrielson wins this one, in which case I'm going to look at Gabrielson in a new light and say, listen, I'd like you to come and represent my company or my institution. I would be looking very carefully at this kind of thing. But I certainly don't regard him as incompetent. I do not regard him as incompetent at all. I regard him. I've got a respect for that. I don't know if that comes through on my channel. I'm just reacting according to how things came through, and it's a working thesis. It's not conclusive. I just go, oh, he's doing this. But bear in mind, I haven't forgotten who he's representing here.
That's right.
I don't blame him as the man. No. I go, he's doing exactly what he's been told to by the top tiers, and it's revealing their mindset. That's what's the triggering aspect, because I go, I've heard this before. I've heard this chirping before. It doesn't have to be him. They could get another attorney in, and guess what? I wouldn't be surprised if they chirp the same thing. And that's why I brought Brumley. Oh, there's a video I haven't released.
Okay.
I'm
we don't know anything about it yet.
You don't know, but I went in. I said, you know where I've heard this before? I've heard it with Brumley.
Yes. Yeah.
And he got sanctioned.
Yes,
he got sanctioned. I said, by the way, Rizdal, if you are listening to this, be warned. I'm not threatening you. I'm saying if you've shown yourself non-proficient, by the way, just the way that anybody can be booted out of the organization, you can be booted out of a job. And let me tell you something, you're up against an international network of lawyers and litigators. You must know how to cover your back in your glitter-tint business, because they feel nothing for you. Be very, very careful. You know, you might be getting paid for this. I don't know what it is, $640 US an hour, according to the last.
Yeah, it's like a lot each day, or each. He's paid quite well. By the way, Angus Stewart, last I heard was that he was heading to South Africa with intentions of becoming a judge. And I keep forgetting to tell you that. And the thought of Angus Stewart being a judge, it just sounds wonderful. He's very, very fair. Very fair, I think. And I don't know if any of you guys remember this, but during the Australian Royal Commission, the Jehovah's Witnesses hired a female lawyer who represented the Catholic Church. And as Angus Stewart's talking to her, he's asking her these questions, and you could tell in the middle of her being asked these questions, she realizes she is covering a organization that is doing certain things that she is not wanting to represent. And you could see it on her face. It's a trip. It was like she got hired under this impression, and then being questioned by Angus Stewart, she found out how it really is. And you could tell on her face that if she would have known, she wouldn't have taken the job. I mean, that's the way it looked to me. And I remember thinking to myself, oh my God. But, you know, larger cases and stuff, it's very smart for them to hire professionals that have worked for other churches in this kind of stuff. So, yeah. We can close up pretty soon, or we can go on a little further if you want to talk about anything more. But we're about at the 3-hour mark, and I could go either way. What are you in the mood for?
Thanks for including me there. Linda James, I lost you. I'm sorry, I couldn't hear a thing.
Oh, okay. So I'm asking you, so I'm telling you that we've done this show so far about 3 hours. And I usually close out about 3 hours unless I want to talk more about anything.
How did we scream through 3 hours?
See, this means we're having fun. Time flies when we're having fun.
What's going on here? I don't understand what's happening. Sometimes I find it difficult as hell. And then I don't think I had any meltdown or anything too weird. I think I'm always weird, but I don't think there was anything too weird this week.
Weird is a prerequisite to be a friend of mine, so you qualify, dude.
Okay, yeah.
Qualify.
Well, Linda James, just go by your own energy. I want to. If you decide to close it off now, that's cool with me. Support that, and I want to say thanks very much. But if you want to keep plugging it, And it depends on the audience too. Maybe the audience is getting tired. I see that in the one channel, I'm just looking at the audience rate. Yeah, I see there's some that are hanging on. But yeah, look, I'm always grateful for these discussions. I get major kick out of it, but I also know that you need to get some sleep as well, and maybe that's healthy for me, and maybe it's a good place to stop. I don't know. I'm enjoying myself.
I am too, but I think this is a good place to end it tonight.
Okay.
I think we kind of concluded naturally, but I always will go further if the conversation is flowing. So I'm going to give you a chance to give some parting words, and then I'll say what I have to say afterwards. And thank you for joining me tonight.
Okay, well then I'm going to be very simple then, Linda James. Very, very simple, and say thank you very much for that. And if there's been some, I noticed with the stream, there's been stop, start, and sometimes there's little spaces that blank out. And just say if there's been those technical things, thanks everybody for seeing past that. Or Linda James, thanks for being very forgiving with that also, and thanks also being forgiving with the weaknesses. I see Sheila's been tuning into my healing journey, and
I saw
she's got a pretty good read. Yeah,
she's
got a good read there.
She's incredibly intuitive. She was saying something about your smile matching your eyes, like it was very cool to see what she wrote. Let's see here.
So thanks very much for that. That's really cool stuff, and thank you. So Linda James, thank you for being a gracious host, and thanks for everybody in the comments for coming on and chirping. Yvonne, I've seen your comments. Desert Has Water, Dallas, Jay Mars, John, thank you very, very much. Christopher, you came on, so really great hearing from you. Purple, thanks for your backup plan. Really grateful for that, just in case, we take some hits there, but thank you very, very much for that. We'll just take one day at a time. 68 Ecomouse, good hearing from you from Germany. Live Invest 8466. I don't know who I've missed out there, but it's been really engaging. Mage Grey Wolf, it's good having you on board. And if you're getting some rest in, I'm glad you're able to get some rest. So just sending out thanks and appreciation, Linda James, to you and also to the community. Very grateful for being here. Yeah, we have a lot of fun. I have a lot of fun. I'll speak for myself. So yeah, I do too. Fun, and you facilitate that. So thank you very much. And with all due respect, have a great week. Let's see what happens in Norway. Let's see what happens with these websites that dared to speak about it and seem to have been slapped over the wrist. We'll see what occurs. I think that's an interesting story. I think there's an excitement factor that they have, been deemed worthy to be silenced. That tells you something. So let's see how things go. But in my inner self, whatever they decide, whatever Norway decides, and like you say, it can go up to the European, it can go up other levels there. Let's see what happens. But irrespective of that, I feel more resolved in myself about what's actually transpired, because it's really uncovered what's going on, and the mask has dropped. It has really, really dropped. And I think that was important for me personally to see that happening, because there was something in my mind going, I hope there's a way to restore this, or I hope there was a way through. And for me, it's been flattened. It's really been flattened by what's happened. Are we still on air? Okay. Yes. So Linda James, I think there's a few little technical glitches, but please accept my gratitude, and I'm going to sign off and enjoy your closing comments. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Matthew. So Happy Heretic just put in a link, Disfellowship Shunning. Okay. Thank you. I appreciate that. Casty, you wish you joined earlier. Love you, Linda. Please check out Cass's channel, do you still have your videos up? Because she has such a unique style to her. And she really does. And it's very much comedy. Yet you really do get the message. Anyways, thank you everybody that showed up today in the chat and here on the show. And thank you to anybody who's going to be listening to this later. I appreciate you very much. This is truly a highlight of my week. And just think, I didn't even get to Bad Bunny at the Super Bowl. But I hear a few people lost their minds about Bad Bunny singing the Spanish music at the Super Bowl. I say good for him. So, and Puerto Rico is part of the U.S., so Puerto Rico was not a foreign land. So I might talk about that next week. I might talk about other things. So thanks for joining us. I'm always thankful for you showing up, Matthew. And if you found any value in this tonight, please share it. Please like it. It helps the algorithm. Okay? And it helps us get out to more people. I know it's a long show, but some people enjoy just kind of turning stuff like this on and doing other things and just listening to it like it is a podcast. So I will catch you guys next weekend. Thank you again. Bye-bye.